Juliet might be the sharpest thinker in Romeo and Juliet. Not the purest, not the bravest, the clearest.
Yes, and that matters, because people talk about her as if she is just a swept-up girl in a romance. That reading is too weak. Juliet often sees the situation faster and more accurately than anyone around her.
So this is not, was Juliet a good person, or was the love real? It is a harder question. When the pressure rises, who actually thinks straight?
And the answer is often Juliet. She speaks plainly. She tests words. She notices consequences. In a play full of speed, fantasy, and bad control, she is unusually exact.
Start with her speech, because that is one place people miss it. Romeo talks in performance. Juliet talks to understand.
Right. When Romeo first appears, he is soaked in borrowed love language. Rosaline has made him sound decorative and vague. Juliet cuts through that kind of talk almost at once. On the balcony, she does not melt into poetry and stop thinking. She asks the direct question, if this is real, what are we doing?
And she goes further than that. She is not flattered by his style. She is wary of it.
Exactly. She says his vows could be too rash, too sudden, too like lightning. That is one of the clearest judgments in the whole play. She sees the speed as a danger, before the audience has even had time to process it. Romeo is thrilled by intensity. Juliet measures risk.
Which already makes her sound mentally tougher than the usual cliché. People reduce her to passion, but she keeps checking reality.
Yes, though we should not turn her into a flawless machine. She is in love. She's impulsive too. She agrees to the marriage quickly. But even inside that rush, she is the one trying to define terms, set limits, and make words match action.
So is the contrast basically this? Romeo feels first and names it later, while Juliet keeps asking what this feeling will cost?
That is close. Romeo tends to move from emotion straight into declaration. Juliet keeps pausing for structure. Who will arrange this? When? How? What follows? She is younger, but often sounds less intoxicated by her own language.
Give me a hard example where she thinks more sharply than Romeo, not just more cautiously.
After Tybalt is killed and Romeo is banished, that is the real test. Romeo collapses. He throws himself on the floor in Friar Lawrence's cell, weeping that banishment is worse than death. It is self-dramatizing and useless. Juliet, by contrast, is shattered, but she still sorts the facts. Tybalt is dead. Romeo killed him. Romeo is alive, banished, not executed. That distinction matters, and she sees it.
That scene is brutal for Romeo's image, because the supposed romantic hero becomes the least functional person in the room.
He does. The nurse and friar have to manage him like a crisis. Juliet also breaks down, but her mind keeps working. She sends for Romeo. She plans for the wedding night they still have. She turns grief into sequence. That is practical intelligence under pressure.
And then, the pressure gets worse, because Capulet suddenly decides she will marry Paris.
Which is where Juliet becomes strategic. She first tries the direct route. She asks her mother to delay the marriage. That fails. She is threatened by her father. The nurse then gives her the worst advice in the play. Forget Romeo and marry Paris. At that point, Juliet understands she is politically alone inside her own house.
That is an important shift. She is not just upset. She has lost her support system.
Exactly. So she changes method. She lies convincingly to her family. She goes to Friar Lawrence, and when he offers the potion plan, she does not accept it, like a dreamer. She interrogates it. What if it fails? What if it kills her? What if she wakes early in the tomb? What if she goes mad among the bones? That is not softness. That is scenario testing.
That is one of the strongest points in her favor. She can imagine outcomes clearly, including horrible ones, and still decide.
Yes, intelligence here is not calm detachment. It is the ability to see the danger without pretending it is safe. Juliet sees the danger and acts anyway, because every other route is blocked. That is different from Romeo, who often acts because feeling itself seems enough.
But if she is so clear-minded, why does that intelligence not save her?
Because this play does not reward intelligence cleanly. Juliet is smart, but she is trapped in a system built by older people, male power, family violence, and sheer speed. She cannot choose openly. She cannot negotiate freely. Her best plans still depend on unreliable messengers, secret timing, and men who have already failed to control events.
So, the point is not that smart people always survive. The point is that clear thinking can still be crushed by a bad world.
Exactly. Friar Lawrence has a plan, but it relies on perfect delivery. The letter never reaches Romeo. Romeo then acts on false information with his usual speed. Juliet wakes too late. Her intelligence was real. It was just not stronger than plague, patriarchy, feud, and panic.
And even at the end, the contrast holds. Romeo sees her apparently dead and moves instantly to suicide. Juliet wakes, understands the scene, and asks for a knife, because now there is no path left.
Yes, her final act is still tragic, still desperate, but it is not confused. She reads the situation correctly. No rescue is coming. The watch is near. Romeo is dead. She makes the last available choice in a world that has narrowed to nothing.
So, clear answer. Is Juliet the strongest mind in the play?
I would say yes, with one correction. She is not the strongest because she is morally pure or magically wiser than everyone else. She is the strongest because she is often the clearest speaker, the quickest judge of danger, and the most practical thinker once events turn vicious.
And that reading is better than the usual one because it stops treating her as a symbol and starts treating her as a mind under pressure.
Exactly. Juliet is not great because she feels deeply. Plenty of people in this play feel deeply. She stands out because, in a play full of noise, she thinks straight.